Yeah. So we were discussing macroscopic properties. Yeah. So these are examples of macroscopic properties. So now, depending on, like certain characteristics are constant at any condition for a particular substance, right? It does not depend on any external factors, like density and boiling point, these kind of stuff. So again, macroscopic properties can be categorized into intensive properties and extensive properties. Okay. So intensive properties, they do not depend on the quantity of the substance. Like the best example is volume. There's a lot more water means more volume. Less water means less volume. Okay. So these, intensive do not depend on the quantity. And extensive properties are the properties that depends on the quantity. Right? So based on this, can you categorize which is intensive, which is extensive? Like volume, first one, volume will be an intensive property or an extensive property?
Extensive.
Volume is extensive.
Yeah.
Pressure?
Again, extensive.
Extensive, yes. So pressure depends on the quantity of water that's there, rho
Yeah.
gh. Density?
Intensive.
Very good, yes. It's an intrinsic property, so it's an intensive property. Then temperature?
All three are extensive. Rest.
Oh yeah. Is color
No,
intensive or
sorry, intensive.
extensive?
Intensive. Sorry.
Color is intensive. And boiling point?
It is also intensive.
Intensive, yes.
Some temperature should also be intensive, I think.
mm, Temperature, okay, let's keep this in a gray area, because in the case
Ma'am,
of
because
liquids it
it
is
depends
intensive.
upon the area na, that is in contact with the heat.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
But
Temperature
it
is
is
extensive.
defined as the average kinetic energy, right? Of
Yeah,
if you take these many molecules, it'll still be its average,
correct.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think because for us, it's been given as an intensive property when while we're discussing this in class.
Okay. Yeah, like
Okay.
for temperature, whether you take 300 ml of water or 500 ml of water, as long as they are the same temperature, it does not depend on the quantity of water. But volume changes are based depending on the quantity, the pressure also changes depending on the quantity. Um, but when it comes to gases, right? So in gases, of course, changing the volume of a gas definitely changes its temperature. So this is kind of like a gray area. We'll have to check it. Okay. Okay. So another fun factor. So what is the formula for density?
Mass upon volume.
Mass upon volume.
Mass upon volume, right? Now, all of them are properties of substances. Density gives you some information, mass gives you some information, volume gives you some other information. So, mass is an intensive or an extensive property,
Extensive.
and volume
Extensive.
Intensive.
and density happens to be intensive.
Density,
Yeah. So,
intensive, yeah.
usually the ratio of any two extensive properties is always an intensive property. Yeah. So usually, like, this is like
Does
a
it work either way, vice versa?
vice versa, not necessarily, because
Okay.
intensive is a characteristic versus another characteristic. Again, it could depend. But
Okay.
this one always, again, it's like you're taking the rate of something with respect to another thing, right? So usually ratio of two extensive happens to be intensive.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So these apply to properties. Sometimes the properties like pressure, temperature, they're also called functions, you know, because like they also form conditions or criteria upon which, other factors depend. So there's something called two types of functions. So basically there's something called a state function and path function. Yeah. So state functions are basically they like these are properties or criteria that describe a specific state of a system. Okay, so state functions ideally describe it independent of the path taken to reach that state. So they describe a state independent of the path. So what this means is, for example, like again, the same factors, if you have pressure, temperature, like you can say that at this moment in time, like if you take balloon, a filled up balloon, so you can say that okay, at this point in time its pressure is 1 atmosphere, its temperature is, I don't know, like 23 degrees Celsius, and the like basically how the balloon got filled, whether it was an air pump or did somebody else blow into it, like it is independent of how it got there. These variables basically describe how it is at that particular moment in time, what its state is. Okay, so if you compare it with the path, for example, so this depends on the initial and uh, like the initial conditions and the path taken to reach there. So this describes the final criteria. This is independent of the path. This actually depends on the initial condition and the path taken. So an example in the case of a path function would be, let's say, work done. Okay, so if I say work done on the balloon is so and so joules, does, sorry, okay, I worded it wrong. So for a particular system, work done is so and so joules. Now that actually, like, it it does not give you the complete information, because that can be interpreted in two ways. Is the work done on the system, or is the work done by the system? Right? So work done is not describing a specific point, a specific characteristic at a, a definite point for that particular system. It is basically you want to know what path was taken, because both of these mean different things. uh, like you guys have done physics, right? Like you are familiar with the terms work done. What do you mean by work done?
Yes.
Yeah, so what do you mean by work done? Like, or what do you understand by the terms work done?
So when there is a change in energy involved, usually that is work done.
Correct. Right, like there is some effort that is put in, that's why you're getting
Yeah,
some
yeah,
change in energy. So what's the difference between work done on the system and work done by the system?
yeah. Can I answer?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So, when work is done on the system, it's positive because this means that energy is being given to the system.
Correct.
Okay, and
Hmm.
when it's done by the system, that means energy is given by the system to the surroundings. Hence, it's negative,
Yes,
and that
very
is
good.
yeah.
Correct. Okay, so both of these mean different things, because you don't know at the end of the final thing, has the energy increased or has the energy decreased. So if work is done by the system is spending energy to undergo that effort. That is what you mean by work done by the system. And since the system is spending energy, like its system is putting in effort, so it is spending energy, the overall energy is going to be lower than what it was finally, right? And if work is done on the system, then something else in the surroundings is spending energy. Where is it going? It is going into the system, because work is done on the system. So that leads to overall increase in the energy. So when you say pressure of the system is 4 pascals or 4 kilopascals, like there's no questions asked. It just like straight away describes the state of the system. But when it comes to something like work done, there's a lot of things, like you want to know what is the path taken, because unless you know this, you don't know what is the final state. You don't know whether you have to, like, work done is positive or negative, right? So this describes the path of the process that took place. So these sort of functions that depend on the path taken are called path functions, and the variables that describe a definite state are called state functions. Okay. So if you were to put this mathematically, right, state functions, you can plot them by using like definite points. Like as time goes by, you can say, oh, pressure is this much, this much, this much, this much. These are like points. You can mark them by points and it will make perfect sense. But path functions, usually when you plot them on a graph, you can't plot path functions with points. There will always be lines or curves. So it's always, an increasing curve or a decreasing curve, or it's going to be a line if it's constant. But yeah, path functions are always described with curves. You cannot describe them using points. State functions, because they are definite states, um, you can describe them using points. That's another way to like look at it. So examples of path functions, state functions, you've got pressure, temperature, volume. What else do we have? The internal energy is a state function, because internal energy is the average of the kinetic energy of all particles. Um, and examples of path functions, work done is one. Q, um, heat or energy is another. So instead of doing work, you can directly like heat, like add or remove heat energy from the system. So that is denoted by Q. Um, so Q can be either positive or negative. Again, by convention, if it is positive, then energy of the system is raised, and if it is negative, energy of the system is lowered. Okay. So all these we will get familiar with. These are just giving you, this is like, this whole chapter is basically an introduction to thermodynamics. That is why at places it'll seem pretty choppy, because it's just getting you guys used to all these terms and identifying and understanding, okay, what do you mean by state function, what do you mean by path function? Because eventually when you're studying something and you come across these terms, it should start making sense to you. Okay, so that's what this whole like introduction is about.
Do we not have path function in our books? Because I can only find state function.
If you have state functions, you should definitely have path functions, because these two are basically like contrasting each other, right?
I can't see it
It's
in the book though.
Oh,
ma'am, it's not. It's like it's specifically given under the work thing.
okay. So yeah, it's not
Like
like,
they haven't stated path function. They've just stated state functions, and
oh,
they've separately given work, and under that they've just slightly hinted, oh, this is a path
You guys
function.
are also talking about the book, the course
NCRT.
book, no? No, I was not using NCRT.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
sorry.
using NCRT, the notes which they've given.
okay. But yeah, like basically, I hope this clears it out then. I saw this chapter in NCRT is a little confusing, like it's not put into proper points. It goes too much into a specific topic and then it goes on a tangent. It's a little, I found it a little disorganized. So hopefully this will clear things up. Okay. Now again, I spoke about different processes, right? Um, so we spoke about properties, like focusing on systems and substances, functions of the system that describe like what the variables related to the system. Now let's look at different processes that can happen to the system that end up changing state functions or causing the path functions. All right, so just like different types of system, there are different processes that can happen also. Okay, first of all, before getting into this, what do you mean by a process? What do you understand by the word process? Anyone?
Can't exactly explain it, but
In your own
uh,
terms, like I'm not looking for definition or anything, just what do you understand by a process?
it's like something is happening uh, with, okay, for example, there are products and then you react both of them. So then till the time they reach the reactants, so the time which it takes is the process.
So what you're saying is, okay, let's say reactants getting converted into products is a process.
Oh, sorry, I, yeah.
Taranum says periodically doing some task. Okay, so all of you agree that process means something is happening, right? How do you identify that something is happening?
By the change that occurs in the quantities or the things that are present.
Very good.
Example,
Yes, that's
temperature.
what. Good. So process means there is some sort of change happening. So this change can be to temperature, to pressure. The change can be in substances itself, like in a reaction, the substances themselves are getting changed. Constituents are getting changed. Um, if you look at a process like melting or boiling, there is change in state. So eventually there's like change in mass or temperature that you can feel there, right? So if there is a process happening, there is some sort of a change taking place. And depending on what kind of change is taking place, or rather what factors are changing versus not changing, processes are classified into again multiple types. Okay, so the first one we have adiabatic process. And we have isothermal process. What else do we have? Isobaric process. And we have isochoric process. And we have cyclic process. Okay. So a lot of them are pretty, like you can figure it out based on the words. But the first one, adiabatic, is a new word for you guys, I'm sure. So adiabatic process means the process in which there is no change in energy. So dq, change in energy, is equal to 0. Energy in the sense there is no heat exchange. You can do work on it, but you can't like give energy by heating it up or cooling it down. Okay. So energy in other forms may be changed, but yeah. So there's no heat exchange. That's an adiabatic process. So like if you were to think of an adiabatic process, uh, consider something happening in a thermos flask. Okay. So if you like take a thermos flask, keep it closed, obviously whatever's hot remains hot there, whatever's cold remains close cold there, because there is no heat exchange. Like that's what it's designed to do. Now imagine there is some sort of a reaction taking place, or any sort of, maybe you're dissolving something. So any process that is conducted in such conditions where there is no heat exchange, that sort of a process is called adiabatic process. Okay. So outside heat can't get in, inside heat cannot get out. That is what is required for adiabatic process. Next. So what do you mean by isothermal? So this
Okay.
I'll leave it to you guys, because these are again
That happens at constant temperature.
very good. So iso means same or uniform. Therm relates to temperature. So yes. So dt is equal to 0 in this case, constant temperature. What do you mean by isobaric?
Constant pressure.
Very good. Yes. So dp is equal to 0. So whenever you come across, like, bar is a unit of pressure, right? And barometer is something used to measure pressure. So if you come across something like isobaric, think of pressure. Isochoric,
Constant volume.
yes. So dv is equal to 0. So course means iso, like it's a constant volume. Now, what do you mean by a cyclic process?
Uh, so from initial point, full circle back to the initial point.
Correct. So something like a process that returns to original state after the process is called cyclic process. So usually when you plot cyclic processes, it kind of looks like this. So as time goes by, let's say you start here with conditions P, V, T, like specific pressure, volume, temperature. Then maybe some parameters increase. Then energy remains the same, but you have different values of PVT, P2, V2, T2. This is P1, V1, T1. And then something else happens. And then finally, as if it comes back to PVT, so this is a cyclic process. Okay. So these are all different processes. So again, like because they're giving you important information about at least one of the states, right? Like for example, no heat exchange, temperature doesn't change, pressure doesn't change, volume doesn't change. It'll help you with, again, equations and solving problems. Like one of your criteria is like right there, fixed. Okay. All right. So we've got
Could
processes.
you just go back to the previous thing of scoping?
Yeah, sure. Oh, there's one more that I missed out on. There's also something called reversible process. And what do you mean by reversible process? So again, it is reversible, right? So basically what's happening in this particular process is that the change, like basically process is a change. So this particular change happens at an extremely slow rate. So that's infinitesimal slow. Like the reason why these terms are important, why this, like it takes place, so that it's an extremely infinitesimal change happening one step at a time. This is important because at any given point, because the change is happening so slowly, the, like basically this process can, it can turn around at any time. So think of it as, okay, let's say you're going from point A to point B, like Mumbai to Delhi, for example. So either you can teleport from Mumbai to Delhi, or you can like drive on the road. Obviously, driving on the road is infinitely slower than just teleporting there, just to compare. But when you're driving, you can like just take a U-turn at any point. But when you're like teleporting, you're in Mumbai and then you've gone to Delhi. Coming back is like whole another process. So that's the kind of comparison that you can think of. Like it is happening so infinitesimally slowly that um, the direction can be reversed at any point. Okay. So direction can be reversed by an infinitesimal change in the state. So um, let's say you're boiling water, like let's say that's our process. Okay. If it's like a slow boil, right? Like the only way you can boil water, like initially water is at 25 degrees Celsius. In order to boil it, you need to raise it to 100 degrees Celsius. So if there was a way to instantly change the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius, that's it. At 100, it started boiling. You can't reverse it. But if you're like slowly increasing the temperature, that it is like boiling step by step, okay, slowly went to 35, 45, 55, slowly increase the temperature by an infinitesimal change in the state, by changing either the pressure or the temperature of water, you can reverse the process. You can like stop boiling it. You can like reduce its temperature. So in such a situation, it's a reversible process. Okay. So that is the significance. So the change is happening infinitesimally slowly. The direction can be reversed at any point by an infinitesimal change in state, by a really small change in state. Okay. Clear about this? You guys
Yes.
get it? Or any
Yeah.
questions? Okay, cool.
Not, yeah. There's irreversible as well, right?
Yes. So reversible matlab, of course, there is irreversible as well. Irreversible is again like self-explanatory process that cannot be reversed. So direction cannot be reversed because it has already reached the final state. Okay. Cool. So another fun fact tidbit is usually, so the work done in case of irreversible is always less than work done in case of reversible change. Okay. All right. So we'll do a question now. This is more to solidify your understanding of the different processes, how to identify them. All right. So we have volume on the x-axis, pressure on the y-axis. So this is at point A. A becomes B, point B, with different variables. Then B turns to C. And then this is point D. D to this turns to point E. E becomes F. And then F comes back to A. Okay. So this is pressure. You have volume on the y-axis. another bit of information that you're given here is that at A, B, and F, the temperature is T1, and at C, D, sorry, yeah, at C, D, and E, the temperature is T2. Okay, so now you have to identify the whole, like you need to figure out, like identify what is the type of process that is happening in this whole diagram. Okay, all right. So overall, what would you categorize this as?
Cyclic.
Yes. Overall is cyclic. Now let's get to the individual process. Now process 1, A to B.
Or
Can you
Isothermal.
repeat that?
isocoric.
A to
Isothermal.
B.
Oh, was
Isocoric.
it said?
Right? Constant.
A to B, what type of process is it?
Oh, A to B. Yeah,
Isothermal.
Sorry. Isothermal.
Isothermal, yes. Can you categorize
Was
it
it?
under anything else?
Isobaric.
Yes. See, the pressure is remaining the same at both A and B points, right? So it is isothermal, isobaric. Next, B to C. Is the pressure remaining the same from B to C?
Yes, it's still isothermal. It won't be isobaric because. Oh, wait, no. It's not iso.
Is
Just
it
a second.
isothermal?
No, because temperature is decreasing.
You can't say it's decreasing. We just know that at
Oh,
A,
decreasing.
B,
I'm sorry. Sorry.
it's changing. At one
there's
point
a-
it's T1, it's one point it's T2. Yeah.
Ma'am, A to B can also be isobaric.
Yeah. So I've written
Oh, sorry,
isothermal and isobaric.
isocoric.
Is it isocoric, Mayas?
Why not?
Because
Okay,
at
sorry.
A,
Sorry.
this is the
Volume
volume.
is increasing.
Yeah.
B.
Okay. So B to C, as volume increases, pressure is decreasing, temperature is also changing. So this, we need a little more information. We don't know if it is adiabatic. It could be, but again, we don't have information, so we can't say that. Next, C to D.
Ma'am, heat change can be said as temperature change, na?
No,
No.
because when you're providing heat, you can still keep the temperature constant, and that heat energy can be converted into work done by the system,
Okay.
right? So
Then
That'll
okay,
be
C to D.
isocoric.
Sid, your voice is breaking.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Better.
Right, isocoric.
Isocoric, yes. So pressure is changing, but the volume is constant. So it is isocoric.
isothermal also.
Very good, yes. Isocoric, isothermal. D to E.
Ma'am, we can also say this as reversible.
Reversible.
Because if we have decreased the pressure, we can increase the pressure anytime.
That way, right? Okay. All right, Sid, that works. You can just message it. Yeah. All right. So D to E.
Isobaric.
Isobaric.
Iso-
Yes.
And isothermal.
Isothermal.
Isothermal, yes.
Yeah. And
Acethermal.
reversible.
Yeah, the whole process, I mean, again, if we don't know if it is infinitesimal change or like
Hmm?
what this is with respect to time, we don't know. So we cannot say that it is reversible or irreversible.
But the whole process is cyclic, so it has to be reversible.
Not necessarily.
So how would it return to original state if it is not able to change?
See, it is returning to original state by going through other variables. Reversible would be if it goes from A to B, and then if it can go back from B to A, then it is reversible. But it's
Okay.
not taking the same path from B to A, right? It is going through this whole loop.
Okay.
That's why. Yeah. All right. Next, let's look at F to A.
Isochoric.
Isochoric, yes. And
Isothermal.
very good, Taranam. Isothermal. So ABF have the same temperature. Sid is asking, is reversible defined as a condition relative to a single process? Yes. So just like how, like it is a type of a process. So of course, reversible would apply to a single process. Again, it can apply to the whole process if it is taking the exact same path. Like if each of these steps were reversible, then we can say that this whole thing is also reversible. Okay. So process matlab, it's basically how the change is taking place, right? So it would depend on the pathway that the change is taking place in. So you describe whether a process is reversible or irreversible. So of course it is defined to a single process. Yeah. Cool. Now coming to like really big topics, like getting into the deep end of thermodynamics, a deeper end, I would say, not the deep end. So one of the major terms in okay, before we go ahead, this is important. Taranum's asking what's the difference between adiabatic and isothermal. So adiabatic में there is no heat exchange. Isothermal में there is no change in the temperature during the process. So this is like really important for you guys at this point to separate out that heat means change in temperature. Okay, so heat is just a form of energy that you're supplying, and because it is a form of energy, right? So it is not necessary that it always results in the change in temperature. If you are if you're supplying heat energy to a system, and if you want the temperature to be kept constant, that energy can be directed to do something else. Okay, so best example, like you guys are familiar with a piston situation, like empty cylinder, and you have like a piston that can move easily, frictionless piston. Are you guys familiar with this kind of a situation?
Ma'am, could you repeat that again, please?
Like I'm just asking if you guys are familiar with a piston wala situation. You have an empty cylinder. Okay, like this cylinder is filled with some gas. One end of it is fixed. The other end has a movable piston which can go back and forth. Like imagine a syringe. Okay, a syringe in which like it can move back and move easily. Okay. All right. So this gas will have a certain pressure associated with it. Depending on the dimensions of this, it's at a certain volume and it will have a certain temperature associated with it, right? Now, if I start heating the gas, okay, this is a candle. If I start heating the gas, your instinct will tell you that, oh, heat energy matlab temperature will start changing. But I have kept conditions such that the temperature should remain constant. Like I have attached a thermometer to it, and if I see the temperature changing, I'm going to do other things so that the temperature is kept constant. But law of conservation of energy states that if I'm providing energy, it should do something, like it should reflect as something else, right? So temperature, matlab, if it is not increasing the kinetic energy of the particles, what else can it do? So this heat energy, this Q, can be converted into work done by this. So if I'm not changing the temperature, the Q can be converted into work done. Work done matlab this particular gas can put in effort and change it into mechanical work. So in other words, like it can push this piston outside, like pushing something, you're acting against a force. So that takes work, right? So in this case, like if all of this, if I'm conducting this whole thing in a sealed environment, like it is, I'm not like there is no heat energy getting outside of this, which means that energy is conserved within this whole system. So there is no exchange of energy, matlab this is going to be an adiabatic system. Also, wait, I got it wrong. So basically, I have provided heat energy to it, which means that there is heat exchange going on, but I ensured that the temperature remains constant. So this is an isothermal system. Isothermal process, sorry. Now, if I seal this piston in a completely, like if I treat this like a vacuum flask, and if I do work on this, like if I start pushing the piston, there is work done on, let me just draw this thing. This is isothermal. Now, I took the same this thing, except I put it like it's basically a flask right now. Okay. So this is like impervious to any sort of heating or cooling or anything else. It's like a thermos flask. So energy is not allowed to get in, or heat energy is not allowed to get in or out of this particular cylinder. Now I have the same piston here, and then I'm pushing this piston. So basically I am doing work on this gas. So if I'm doing work on this gas, it means that I am adding energy into this. So if I'm adding energy into this and it can't like radiate it out as heat energy or something, that energy has to be converted to something else. So if at all it gets converted into the internal energy of this particular gas. So if it increases the temperature of this particular gas, so there is change in temperature, but there is no heat exchange involved. So this sort of a process is called an adiabatic process. So Taranum, is it clear now?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
yeah. So adiabatic matlab no heat exchange. Isothermal matlab there's no change in temperature. So like right now, while doing all these problems, you guys will have to decouple the fact that heat does not automatically imply change in temperature. You have to check what kind of process it is. Okay. All right. Now coming back to this, we were discussing. So one of the main important parts, like something I discussed over here, also I mentioned it a couple of times, is work. So work in thermodynamic terms. Okay. So work is one mode of transfer of energy. Okay.
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah. So more like work is basically one of the modes of, like, it's a mode of transfer of energy, specifically when system and surroundings are at different pressures. Okay. So like work will be done either by the system or by the surroundings as long as they're at different pressures, and work will be done. So eventually when the pressures become equal between the system and the surrounding, then like as long as they're at different pressure, work will be done until they're equalized. Okay. And usually work mathematically is basically a product of an intensity factor and a capacity factor. Okay. And work is of course a path function. As we discussed earlier, it depends on how it is being done, whether it's being done on the system, by the system, and all of that. Okay. So mathematically, work is usually a product of intensity factor and capacity factor, and this is like basically universal. So you would have come across mechanical work done in physics. So what was the formula you guys have used for mechanical work done?
Force into displacement.
Force into displacement, right? So you can clearly see force is basically the intensity with which something you're pushing, and displacement is basically the capacity factor, like how far or how much you're able to displace it. So similarly, if you come across work in any other context, electrical work done, I'm not sure if you guys remember it, but even in electricity you would have work done also. Charge into, what was it again, I forget. So it was charge into voltage. So basically, uh, potential into charge, right? VQ, W equal to VQ. So it's always like a product of an intensity factor and a capacity factor. So similarly, here also, work done, you would get it as pressure into volume. Pressure is basically your the intensity factor. Volume is your capacity factor. So of course, like we will derive this how to get into here, but yeah. So this is something that you can remember in case you are confused by the formula of work or something. It's always intensity factor into capacity factor. Okay. So let's derive the formula for work. So of course we are going to get our piston back. Okay, so this is the cylinder. This is filled with any gas. So the pressure inside is P and the volume is V. Okay, and the external pressure, let's call it PEX, P external. All right, at temperature T. Okay, so the initial conditions of the system are, we've got pressure P and volume Vt. This is just to show that it is at temperature T. Okay, now if there is an external pressure PEX applied which is greater than P, then will this get pushed inside or will this get pushed outside?
Inside.
Inside. Makes sense, right? So pressure outside is more, which means that it's the force will be in this direction. All right. So basically the final conditions will look something like this. So initially it was over here. So because of the extra pressure, this is going to get pushed inside. Okay, so there is PX acting on it, pushing it over here. So this particular piston, the distance that it moves, so if P external is greater than P, then the piston moves until P is equal to PEX. So the internal pressure should also be equal to the external pressure. So this is going to move until that point, which means that the volume is obviously eventually decreasing. So volume decreases. Okay. The force applied by the piston in reducing this volume, so the force is equal to, what will the force be applied be equal to?
PEXA.
Correct. So PEX into A, where A is equal to the, what
Area
is A?
cross section of the
Yeah.
piston.
Area of cross section of this piston. Okay. And the change in volume, what will be the change in volume here? So let's say this has moved, the displacement here is L. So change in volume, delta V will be equal to
L times A.
L times I, correct. Okay.
How is delta V is equal to L times A?
Change in volume, right? So this total is the initial volume and this bit is the final volume. Here, initially it was at this point.
Okay. I was
So,
thinking something like VT minus V.
yeah, I mean, obviously it is Vt minus V. So I call that as delta V, the change in volume as delta V. So this is the change in volume, that's L into A. Okay. All right. So now in order to figure out the work done, so there are two ways of looking at it. Okay. So the first is, if this particular change, like if going from this point to this point happens in a single step. So basically it's the teleportation part of it, right? If it happens in a single step, if it is instantaneous change from here to here, then work done is pretty straightforward. So work done is equal to, we'll use our same formula, the force into displacement. So it's a dot product, so should force into displacement. So force happened to be P external into A, displacement is equal to L. So I can write, let me write as L. This I can also write it as P external into A into delta V by A. So this I got it from this equation. Delta V equal to L into A. So I wrote L as delta V by A. So A gets cancelled. So work done is basically equal to P external into delta V. Delta V is basically your change in volume. So P external into V final minus V initial. Okay. And because the P external, like the external pressure was greater than the internal pressure, and V final is less than the V initial, right? The volume decreased. So two ways of looking at it. So overall delta V is negative. So the work done is a negative value. Also, because the external pressure was greater than the internal pressure, work is done on the system. Okay. So work is done on the system, and conventionally if work is done on the system, you're adding energy into the system. So the work done, like, so the value should be positive, which is why we change the formula as work done is equal to minus P into delta V. Okay. So like, how do you justify putting a negative value in the work done expression? Is because work is done on the system, which means that there is additional energy coming into the system. So this particular work should have a positive value, like the positive, uh, like denote it with a positive value because it's additional energy coming in. Now, as per our regular formula, like in our derivation, work is P delta V, and delta V happened to be negative because obviously volume reduced, final volume less than initial volume. So in order to make this negative value into positive, you multiply it with the negative sign. Another way to justify this is, if you observe here, the, like if you look at it from the point of view of system, the pressure that this thing is applying is in this direction, right? Like the opposing So the work is done against this force, this particular pressure, and the displacement is in this direction. Now, because these two are in opposing directions, that is another way why you can justify that you add a negative sign over here. Okay, so this is the derivation of the formula for work done if it is done in a single step. Step 1, you had V like initial volume. Step 2, you have final volume. So work done will be pressure into V final minus V initial. Now coming to the flip side of it, which is basically if the pressure is not constant at every stage, like if the change, so in this case we considered if it is achieved in a single step. In this case, if it takes multiple steps, like P is changing at each step, like P is not constant at each step, changing basically not constant. So again, we'll have to get into calculus here. So basically what's happening over here is we have our piston arrangement, cylinder, piston. So I'll just like use a single disc to denote it. Okay, so initially, of course, like it's being pushed with PEX, but the opposing this thing, as it moves a tiny distance, the like slowly the pressures are getting equalized, right? So with every little displacement, the pressures also changing bit by bit, right? So in this case, the work done formula will change as, of course, we have to bring it because we are considering like an infinitesimal change where both pressure and volume both are changing. Work done will be integral P external into dV from V initial to V final. Like the formula will still be the same where it is like force into displacement. So that's why you get P into dV, except you will integrate it from the initial volume to the final volume point. Now this is not a constant, so you can't just directly write it as V final minus V initial. Now pressure is also changing with respect to volume. How is pressure changing at each step? So P external is equal to the P internal plus or minus dP. So as there is a dV change in volume, there is also a dP change in the pressure. Okay. So the P external changes depending on like whatever the internal pressure is. So P internal plus or minus dP. So substitute this. So work done will be equal to minus integral initial to final P internal plus minus dP into dV. So just calculate it. So V initial to V final. Again, so dP is an extreme, like it is an infinitesimal change in pressure. So we can ignore dP over here. So it's basically P internal into dV. Again, this is not constant, so let's get it. Because this is a gas, we'll use the ideal gas equation. So Vi to V final, so nRT by V into dV. So that again, nRT are constants, so let's get it out. nRT into integral V initial to V final dV by V. So what is integral 1 by V dV?
V minus 2 by 2
Huh?
minus V by 2, right? V by minus, wait, sorry.
0.
No, 1 by V here.
Yeah, so that's
So basically, if you differentiate, you should get 1 by V. So what should you differentiate so that you get 1 by V? It's a reverse, right? So integral 1 by V should give you what happened? Dhriti, Ansh. Come on, guys. So 1 by V dV, if you integrate it, you get natural logarithm. So ln V, of course, we need to apply the limits. Vi to Vf. You forgotten?
Ma'am,
I
I haven't been taught now. Sorry.
No? Wait, I
No.
thought you guys had done like basics of
no,
differentiation,
we've
integration,
done
and
it. We've
physics,
done
right?
it. Yeah, we done it.
Hmm.
No, I thought about it, but I wasn't sure.
That
I
was
wasn't sure if that's the answer.
Oh. So you have not come across this situation like where you have fraction 1 by V.
No, we have. I think.
We
I'm
have,
pretty
ma'am.
sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought that was the answer, but I wasn't confident. So I don't know.
Well, now you know. Now you can be confident. Right. So final work done formula. If this is the formula that you use if the pressure is also changing simultaneously, like if it is not being done in one step. So basically, if it is a reversible process, right? So you use nRT natural logarithm ln V final by V initial. Or another way, because calculations के लिए log to the base 10 is convenient, you can use this conversion factor minus 2.303 nRT logarithm V final by V initial. Okay. So if it is done in a single step where the pressure is constant, where the change in pressure doesn't matter so much, you can just use the formula P equal to, or work done equal to P delta V. But if the pressure change also matters, like if it's a reversible process, look out for the keywords reversible process, or if it is done in like multiple step, infinite steps, then it means that the pressure is also changing with every moment, when you should use this formula. So 2.303.
How are we writing V final divided by V initial? Aren't those the limits?
Yeah, limits hai na. So after applying integration, this is what you get, right? So you get nRT ln V final minus ln V initial.
Yes, sir.
And rules of logarithms. So if you have log A minus log B, you can write it as log A upon log B.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are basically, this is basically the different, what do you call it? Expressions for work done. Okay. Then a few more additional points that we have. A special case is one is if there is free expansion of gas. Right? So free expansion of gas, meaning if a gas expands on its own, like think of a balloon blasting in space. So in space, there is no atmosphere opposing, the flow of gases, right? So in that kind of a situation, because it is unopposed, the gas is like expanding on its own. There is change in volume, yes. There is change in pressure, yes. But it's on the gas's own terms. There is no opposing pressure or force acting on it. So in that kind of a case, like for example, if a gas expands on its own in vacuum, then there is no work done. So W will be equal to 0. Okay. So the reason why W is equal to 0 is because there is no external opposing pressure to it. P external is equal to 0, which is why W is equal to 0. Right. Then so another condition, okay, so isothermal, oh yeah, so if it is isothermal irreversible, okay, this is something that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. If it is an irreversible process, so if it's an isothermal irreversible change, then you use a formula W equal to P external into V final minus V initial. And if it is an isothermal reversible change, reversible matlab it is happening really slowly with infinitesimal change in the volume and the pressure. So in this case, you use the formula W equal to minus 2.303 nRT log V final by V initial. Now, because the pressure is also changing, we don't want pressure into the picture here. We don't know what pressure to take, initial, final, average, what. So that's the reason. Okay. And if it is an adiabatic process, of course, Q is equal to 0. Q, all right. Acha, before if I get into this, do you guys know what is the first law of thermodynamics?
Q plus W.
Yeah.
That means, yeah, I'll tell you the statement again.
I do not know.
No way. There is no change in energy in an isolated system.
Yes.
Or the other thing was energy can neither be created or destroyed. Sorry for
Exactly. That's
random
basically the fancy way of saying it's the law of conservation of energy. The energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is just transferred from one form to another. So fancy way of putting it is there is no energy change in an isolated system. Okay. So basically energy terms, so you can provide energy either in the form of heat, which is Q. You can do work, mechanical work on it, like pushing the piston, pulling the piston, W. and you have like the intrinsic energy present in the substance itself, which is U, right? So basically, the statement says that energy is neither lost nor gained, right? So if there is a change in internal energy of a particular system, then that is basically equal to the sum of the heat energy and the work done. Because there is no other way that energy can be gotten in or let out or like anything else. Like you can't just create energy out of nowhere. So if you see that, the temperature, internal energy of a system has changed, either you're providing heat to it or you're doing work on it, or it's a combination of both. Okay. So because we're talking about work, I just wanted to get this in. Isothermal reversible change, irreversible change. And if it is an adiabatic change, so what do you mean by an adiabatic change? Like if it is
I
an
am sorry. Could you repeat that? Could you
yeah,
repeat like the last
what do you
unit?
what do you mean by adiabatic change? Like what can you say if I say that this particular process is adiabatic, then what can you say about it
In terms of
in terms of UQW
oh,
or
okay.
TVP, like mathematically?
In adiabatic process, there is no change in energy, right? So no change in
Heat
heat.
energy specifically,
Yeah, so
yes.
delta Q will be 0.
Correct. So Q will be equal to 0, which means that this equation, whatever work is done,
Is equal to the change in internal energy.
correct. So whatever change, whatever work is done is basically all transferred to the internal energy. So work done or work adiabatic is equal to delta U. Okay, so these are the different like main points about work done. So work done, just summarizing it, work done is basically just a mode of transfer of energy when the system and surroundings are at different pressures. Okay, so work done is almost always like mechanical when we talk about it in these terms. So which is why you need the difference in pressures to initiate like pushing or pulling of the piston. So work done is basically you use this formula force into displacement because it is mechanical work. All right, so considering a hypothetical piston condition where this is filled with an ideal gas, uh, with at initial conditions pressure P and volume V. Let's say there is an external pressure, like for work to be done, you need system and surrounding to be at different pressures. So let's say there is an external pressure, P external, being applied greater than P for this particular hypothetical situation. So the piston moves inwards in this direction until P external is equal to P. So this movement can be done in two ways. Okay, so either the movement can be achieved in a single step, like just cut, that's it. In which case it's pretty easy, right? So movement happens like the extent to which this will move is until the pressures are equalized. So work done is equal to force into displacement. Force is pressure into area and displacement is delta V, change in volume upon the area. So mathematically, if you just like cancel out the terms, you get the formula. P external is, sorry, work done is P external into change in volume. Now, if it is a reversible change, which means that this movement of the piston is taking place like step by step. So that means that for every dV change in volume, there's going to be dP change in pressure. All right. So the formula will still be the same what you start off with, except you're integrating it over this whole range from V initial until V final. So once you so work done will be equal to integral of again, like you put in the values, substitute the values, integrate it. This is like the major step. Now, because the internal pressure is not remaining the same throughout, you are bringing it all in terms of a single variable volume. Okay, so that's why P internal is nRT upon V integrated over dV. You integrate it, get the formula, you get the expression for a reversible change if it's happening over multiple steps. Okay. So this is all about work done. Maya is asking, do we learn the derivations? At least get familiar with it, okay? So just in case if such a question arises. So we had quickly gone over like the first law of thermodynamics. Apart from work done, another major variable or function that comes into picture is heat. Heat, again, it is something that's in our control. Heat is denoted by Q. Q is another path function. You need to specify if heat energy is going into the system or out of the system, because that decides its final state. Okay. And so the quantity of energy, so major difference between heat and work done, like why do we have, like even though both of them are energy quantities, we have two different terms from them, is because work is basically the mode of transfer of energy due to difference in pressures. That's more of a mechanical work done. It's like more of some action being done. Heat is basically the quantity of energy on account of temperature difference. So literally like 15-20 minutes ago, before we discussed work, I asked you guys to decouple heat with temperature, which is true. So providing heat doesn't mean that you're always increasing the temperature. In some cases, it results in increase of temperature of the substance. In other cases, you can keep the temperature constant and redirect it to as work done or some other process. But heat energy is basically literally like flame, fire, like heat energy itself. So what this heat energy does to the system may not always cause a difference in temperature. uh, so basically it's basically a form of energy. How do I explain this? Heat is literally like the energy that you get from fire. So how it affects a process will depend on what type of process you're doing, right? If it is isothermal or whether it is like adiabatic or anything else. But if you have to define heat Q, the way it is different from internal energy or work done, it is basically energy on account of temperature difference. So if surroundings is supplying heat energy to the system, then the temperature of surroundings would have decreased. So the pressure will not remain changed. The temperature of the surrounding would have been affected. to the system, it may not really make so much of a difference if you are doing an isothermal process. But like that is basically how you can have an idea, like it, there is temperature difference associated with it, but yeah, it's basically like your um, flame or fire, like that's basically your heat energy. If you're supplying heat energy to a system, then there is decrease of temperature of whatever is like supplying it that way. And just like with work, there is what do you call, like there is convention with respect to heat energy also. If heat is transferred from surroundings to the system, because you're adding energy to the system again, so Q is taken as a positive value. And if it is being transferred from system to surrounding, because the system is losing out on the energy, so Q is taken as a negative value. So these are like the sign conventions with respect to heat. So with respect to heat, before there was a first law of thermodynamics, there's something called the zeroth law of thermodynamics. In your textbook, I think like this is like this particular law is called the first law and the other one is called second law. There's some sort of a difference like that. But yeah, so before there was a like basically first law of thermodynamics was stated first, but this happened to be more fundamental than that, and so they termed it as a zeroth law of thermodynamics. So zeroth law of thermodynamics basically talks about thermal equilibrium. So in simple terms, if in layperson terms, if I were to talk about it, so basically if there is no heat exchange between A and C, or if A and C are at in thermal equilibrium and B and C are in thermal equilibrium, then it means that A and B are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. Thermal equilibrium matlab the net exchange of energy is zero. So whatever thermal energy A is radiating to C, C radiates back the same amount of thermal energy. Both of them are essentially at the same temperature, basically. Okay. So basically, if A and C are in thermal equilibrium, B and C are in thermal equilibrium, then A and B are also in thermal equilibrium. So this is your zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay. And you guys don't have specific heat in your syllabus, right?
No, ma'am, it's cancelled. Ma'am, could you state the law, the statement
Law
of
statement.
zero?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little complicated. So if basically, if let me pull it up, just a moment.
Yes, ma'am. As far as I know, it's something three bodies in equilibrium. These are
Yeah.
the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says, yeah, if two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with a third body, then they are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. Yeah. So these two bodies, if two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with a third body, which is C in this case, then they two, like these two, are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. So that is the statement.
Yes, just a second. Equilibrium with each other. Yes, ma'am, done. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So first law of thermodynamics we have already discussed it, conservation of energy. So delta U, change in internal energy of any system or a body, is equal to Q plus W. So if it is an adiabatic process, if there is an adiabatic process performed on the system, then Q equal to 0, which means that whatever change in internal energy comes from work done on the system or by the system. Next, if it is an isothermal process done, so what does an isothermal process signify?
There is a change in internal energy because no wait.
Is there change in internal energy?
Delta T is 0. Yeah, delta T is 0. So
Yeah.
that means no heat is exchanged, right?
No. So delta T is 0. There is no change in temperature. Matlab, there is no change in the internal energy of the substance.
Okay.
So internal energy is basically, it's a state function. So temperature is basically a measurement of the internal energy of the substance. Like there is no direct way to measure internal energy. It can only be theoretically defined, or you can indirectly measure it based on all these other factors. So a physical, like quantitative measurement of internal energy is literally temperature. So temperature is how you figure out if there is a change in internal energy. Because think about it, internal energy, right? It is literally the sum of all the kinetic energy of individual particles in the system. And there is no way that you can measure the kinetic energy of each and every little tiny atom or molecule, right? So a more practical way of measuring internal energy is temperature. So if you think of temperature, automatically always relates to internal energy. Do not relate it with Q. Q is just like a mode of, transfer of energy. Either you can add heat energy to it or remove heat energy to it. So difference between Q and W is whether you're directly adding heat or are you doing it mechanically by doing work on it or making the system do the work. Okay. So in isothermal process, delta U, internal energy does not change, no change in temperature. And so whatever work you do on the system is translated into heat. So either it's going to like radiate heat, if the system does the work, like if work is done by the system, then it's going to radiate heat energy. If work is done on the system, then that's going to get converted into like heat energy. So W is equal to minus Q based on this equation. Okay. So that's adiabatic, and you have isothermal. And we have, okay, the third point, in gaseous systems, so the gas expands against constant external pressure. So again, it's not a free expansion, it is expanding against a constant external pressure. Okay. So if a gas is expanding, is work being done by the system or on the system?
By the system.
Correct. So if gas is expanding, so the first law is going to change as delta U is equal to Q plus the Px dV. I'm sorry. So this is done by the system, right? So the sign is going to change as minus PdV. Okay. So
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
If the gas is expanding, compressing,
Mm-hmm.
will it be the opposite? Delta U is equal to Q plus P external dV.
Yes, because
Okay.
then the work is being done on the system, right? So
Yeah, so that'll be just the sign convention will change, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like this is how you figure out, like based on what is given in the question, is it an adiabatic process, isothermal process? If it is neither, then what is happening? Gas is expanding, contracting. So this is like your main go-to equation, and this gets modified depending on what is the situation you're in. Okay. We can take up some questions related to this. Um, should we do a couple of them in class right now, or should we catch up on this like next class? Like give you guys time to revise, digest it. If you want, you can attempt some on your own. But yeah, do you want to immediately do it right now, or do you want to do it in the next class?
Can we do the questions in the next class?
Yeah, ma'am. Can you give us the question? Can we discuss them in the next class?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
all right, sure. So we'll do
Yeah.
that. So I'll compile a bunch of questions, send it to you, like attempt it on your own first, and then we can discuss them in the next class. Cool.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, ma'am, I sort
What's
of had
up?
a request.
Yeah.
So our like in the past few months, our classes haven't been consistent. As in, on like if it's there a week, then there's like a lot of gap
Between
in
classes.
our
Yeah.
two classes. So it becomes from my end, it's very difficult for me to